Hello and good evening. It's Trisha here, ready for December's bag of the month, the Zara bag. So let's just wait a few moments. I am dead on 6:30 and let's just see. Okay. Right. Let me see if I can find you. Because obviously, you know, I won't be able to see any comments on here. So let me see what I can find. I'm in the right place, which is fortunate. Let's see. There we go. Let's just get that turned off. Right, there's Christine. Hello, and Judith, and Liz, and Elaine, and lots of others watching, and Leslie. Good evening to you all. Now, I've decided I'm going to brave the cold in here because I've got more room. And as you've probably seen, I have put the PDF in the group files for you to download, print, save as soon as you can, because you know what this month is going to do. It's going to run away with us and it will be a last minute rush to get it downloaded. So who else have we here now? We have Shirley and Christine and Marilyn and Patsy and Gita and Jill. Hope you're feeling better, Jill. Marilyn, Lynn, Diane, Leslie, Bridget's watching. Caroline from New Zealand. Wow, just having breakfast. Oh, we're missing you too, but you have a lovely, lovely time. Hello, Elaine and Kirsten and Virginia and Mary. Okay, and there's Jane. Yes, it is a little bit different. Now, I'll let you into a secret. Hello, Sue. Hello, Janet. But it's not the one I was originally going to do. I wasn't happy with it. But do you want, this will be in January. I'll do this one. I'll give you a little sneaky. Because it is quite pleasant, but I have made it badly. So it needs a few little tweaks. I showed some of my ladies today and there's no, but this is one, not today, but this is one for, let's just push that out a bit. This is one for next year. So obviously it needs a handle at the sides, but this is what it's going to be like. So as I say, I need to tweak because if it's gone wrong with me, it may go wrong with you, and I want it to be plain sailing. As I say, I liked, as did the others, the style of it, but oh boy, it was made badly. So I'm going to find myself a nice, easy way to make it straightforward to put together. And, oh, there's Jill without John. Wow, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. Oh, there's Dorothy, hello, and Jill, Janet even, Bridget, Paula, Vanessa, hello, and Margaret, and Linda, and Yvonne, and Beverly, and Carolyn. Fantastic. Oh, we've got quite a few of you here now. So, oh, glad you like it, Gita. I'm going to show you it right now. For those that haven't seen already, here it is. Now, I am pleased with this one. And you will see, there it is. What do you think of that? It's not enormous, but it's a pretty decent size. It is, let me just have a look. It's about 8 by 9 by 3. Okay, and I think the fabrics do it justice. Oh, you're loving it. Oh, jolly good. Hello Susan, hello Catherine, and hello Carol. So yeah, it does look quite nice. You love it, woo! Yes. Now, can you guess what shape we start off with for this? I mean, I suppose by the curves you'll see, but hello Bev, hello Wendy. Yes, so that's a little bit of the retro by Macawa, which I did have in a sale a few weeks ago, and also some cottage cloth, and I think it goes really quite well. Oh, that's bigger than you thought, Virginia. Now, it is made with a circle, or two circles, And you can make it in whatever size you like, but the instructions are made for the size that I made up. Now, I meant to get a bit of paper, didn't I? Hello, yes, it is a circle, Jill. Well done, you. Hello, Barbara. Hello, Mary. And Karen. The PDF is in the files, Jill. I promise you that. Unlike the website, which is still giving me troubles, but never mind. Now, the website is fine. I'm not going to harp on about it, but it's really irritating me. The website is fine for tangible goods. When it comes to PDFs, I think it might be an idea to send me an email to trisha@hotmail.com if there's any PDFs you want, and I will send them manually to you because there's hiccups majority of the time, not always, but a lot of the time. So we won't harp on about that, but this is what we're going to make tonight. So let's pop that out of the way. No, I won't hang it up. So what I was going to show you first of all, and I've forgotten to get, let me get a little square of fabric. I meant to get a piece of paper, but I didn't. So let me get a piece of material. Let's have a look. Doesn't really matter what size we have. Right. Pencil, ruler. Okay. So let's dip you down here. Now this is how you are going to make a circle. What I would say is you might have a circle that is absolutely big enough for what you want to do. The circle for this bag was a 19-inch diameter and a 13-inch diameter. So what you will get, you'll be able to make this out of a fat quarter of each of the fabrics. And the fat quarter, let me have a look. You will need to fold. So let's pretend, I'm just going to do a small version. So we're going to fold the fabric in half once, and then there's my fold the fabric up again. Okay. Now, as I say, this is only going to be mini. So I'm going to make this, that's my scissors, I'm going to make this with, let's come in a little bit closer. There we go. There we go. So let's start just again. So here's our fabric. Here's our piece of fabric. We want to make a circle out of that. So we're going to fold it in half once, and then we're going to fold it the other way. So we've folded it horizontally. Now we will fold it vertically, and we're working around this point here where all the folds are. Whoops, that way. Here are all the folds. Now with a ruler or a piece of string, if you like, we are going to, let me see, let's go this way. I'm going to make a 2-inch circle. So, because I think it's only big enough, no, 2.5. So we are lining our 2.5 point up here with that fold, where the fold is. And we're going to make a mark just there. And then I'm going to swivel it round, still with the 2.5 point. You are going to have 9.5 here. And then you're going to put a little mark at the tip again. We're going to swivel it a little bit further, concentrating on that point there, being 9.5 or 6.5 for your other circle. And we're just going to put a little dot every time, you know, every couple of inches, or you could do it even less than that if you like, until we get right round to the side and you measure that point again. Perhaps need another one just here. Depends how confident you are at cutting in between the points. So there I have all those dots. Whoops, let's do it under all those dots around the circle. Then I'm going to cut through all of those dots, or you can do it with a rotary cutter. So holding that, And I have cut that, and when you open it out, you have a circle. Oh, if we can open it out. So there we have a circle, and that's how you're going to make, I think you'll need a compass. You could do that too. So that's how you're going to make your circle. So you're going to need one in 2 colours. You are going to need, now I have done a little bit of preparation because both of these are the same. Whoops, it's behind me here. So we are going to need, I'll put some pins in there. We're going to need, so this is my contrast colour, the brown. So you're going to need a circle in brown, a circle of fusible fleece, and your lining fabric. I've just used calico, and actually for this one, it really doesn't matter. So the cheaper or the nastier the fabric you have, if you've got some fabric that you don't particularly like and won't like it to be seen, use it because it's not going to be seen at all. I've used calico, you know, because I can, basically. So there's a circle. This is the contrast fabric, the plain fabric I've used. So the smaller circle is in this. This is 13 inches in diameter, which is the whole way across. Or if you're making your circle, you want it to be 6.5 when you do your folds. The other one is this one here, which was a 19-inch diameter circle. You need 1 piece in your focal fabric, 1 piece in your calico or your lining fabric. Now this could be a pretty fabric if you wanted to, and then 1 circle in your fusible fleece as well. So I've already done that particular one, but I'm going to show you exactly what you do with your, you'll do exactly the same for both circles, whichever size one you're doing. And I'm going to show you just on the smaller one so it doesn't take as long. So I've put my circles right sides together. I first of all fused my fusible fleece, then I put my circles right sides together. And because they're quite big circles, I've chosen to put pins in to hold it. Now I might very well, and I will, stitch from the calico side, which is fine, so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to use 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can use, if you've got a foot like I have, you can do 1/8 inch seam allowance if you like, and then you don't need to trim back. But with this one, I am going to use the 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to trim it back to 1/8 inch because it just makes it sit really, really well. So I'm also going to turn my stitch allowance down to just over 2, 2.5, or 2 would be best because it gives you a really good smooth curve around the outside. So let us just start. So I'm holding the lining fabric here. I don't want it to pucker at all. I just want that to be beautifully smooth. So you got whatever speed you like. The pins are going to hold the fabric in place because you don't want there to be any, like there's a few little wrinkles coming there. Just smooth that out, smooth it out to the edges, and just carry on stitching around the circle. There, and it's surprising how quickly it actually gets there. So that's it, we're nearly around the edge. And to be honest, if the circle's a little bit off, you're not really going to notice. And then just a few stitches over where we began. So let's first of all take out our pins, because we don't want to have pins inside our bag. So then I am going to just trim. So you could use pinking shears, or you can clip into all of this seam allowance the whole way around. Now I do find that a little bit tedious, so just trimming back to 1/8 inch is just as good. Just make sure that all of your seam is attached to fabric. Why do I say that? Because it happened to me. So you just, I didn't double check on this one, but I'm sure it feels fine. And that's why I put the pins in so the fabric didn't shift, which would mean I may have areas where the fabrics are not stitched together. But all I would do then, if I noticed it, was go back along there and just stitch in a little bit further to make that perfect. So we are nearly round to the other side, and I am just going to check here to make sure, yeah, I've got stitching all the way around here, so I know that's fine. Now, what we're going to do with both circles, so there's my wadding, there's my lining, both circles I'm going to cut in half. So I've got 2 semicircles. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my circle in half, and I am going to line up that outer edge there. And it's at these points here, I'm going to make a little mark, or you could put a pin in there. So I make a little mark on my lining and just make sure it's accurate this side. You could pin it first, but pins and rotary cutters if we're going to do it. So then at this other side, I'm making a little mark there. So when I open that out, we can either draw a line across there, which let's see, I can. And then normally I would just go to the rotary, the cutting mat and the rotary cutter and just cut straight across. But as I'm not near a cutting mat, I'm going to draw a line, and then with my scissors I'm going to cut straight across here. Okay, so directly on the line, and I'm just cutting straight across. That's why we were able to stitch the whole way around without leaving a gap. So let's get our ironing board in now. And what we're going to do, there's the ironing board with a little watermark. And I am going to turn this to the right side very, very easily, like so. And I'm going to run my fingers inside our little tea cozy, if you like. Just make that nice and smooth. And then the same with this one. Just turn it to the right side and pop your finger in. And this is why, by cutting back to 1/8 of an inch, that edge all around is really, really good. Now, when I press this, what I want to make sure is that my lining comes right to the edge of my wadding. So I want this to be perfectly aligned along here. If it's not, I'm going to get an edge. So let's just bring that iron in. I've made sure I'm lined up down here. I'm just going to bring that around a little bit more, make sure it's lined up over here as well, and then carry on just pressing all the way around that edge. And you'll be surprised how neat it looks. So again, make sure that's right down to the edge there, and then all the way down there. And then we can turn that over and give that a press from the top, and you can see how neat and smooth that curve is. So compared with before pressing, it is quite nice to have that around there, but if your seam doesn't match at the bottom, you are going to get raw edges on the inside. So again, I have just aligned that at that bottom edge and just pressed around the edge there, and then come over to this side, pull that down again so that we can press all the way around here. There we go. Press there, and then the same on this side. Let's just pull that down so that it's lined up at the bottom, and give that a press around that edge. And then over to the right side and give that a lovely press first of all. Okay, so now we have those two. As I said earlier, I have already made my large circle and cut that in half as well. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to stitch across this bottom edge. So let's take this on all 4 of them. So you only need to have a long stitch because it's just a basting stitch to hold everything together for when we start putting, there we are, I bet I'm going to have to, let's just have a look here. That's it, just make sure. Now it's probably better to go from your lining side so that you can see that this all lines up at this edge. So about 1/8 of an inch in, the longest stitch you can find, and by keeping that lining lined up with the edge of your outer fabric, which has got wadding on, that's going to keep that nice and smooth, and we're not going to have any nasty incidents where there's a raw edge poking out because it's separated. Okay, so there's our first one, as I say, just stitched across there. And then the second one, we're going to do that again. Make sure that those bottom edges are nicely aligned. Just rub your hand across there, and it will just bring any excess down to this bottom edge where it needs to be held together. That's it, all this little bit there. Because it's amazing how it will spring back to this outer edge where the seam allowance is. Okay, 1, 2. So this one also. So this is the smaller circle. And that needs to come down just a tiny bit. So make sure it is just 1/8 of an inch because it's all going to be out of sight in a moment. And then the last one here, I'm doing the same again, just bring that fabric over to line up at the edges, and we are good to go. Okay, whoops, didn't want to cut that bit of thread. Let's just carry on stitching that again. I cleaned my machine yesterday, so it's not that the thread cutter is bunged up with thread. Okay, so I've got that nicely across there now. Now also, I need to find the centre of this straight edge. So I'm going to fold that in half, line those outer edges up, and within that 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm going to do a little nick. Whoops. Can you see that little nick there? To find my centre point. So again, fold that in half. Make sure those edges are absolutely aligned, and we'll do a little nick in that one. And the same with our main fabric. Fold that in half, little nick, and this one too. Fold that in half, pull it together, and it's easier to do this if you stitch this first of all, if you've done that stitching that we've just done. And we'll put our stitch length back to the normal. Right, so the first thing we are going to do is, with this we are going to, just lift that up there. I'm going to find this notch on this one, and I'm going to place my my dark contrast so that those notches align. And then I'm going to put a pin in here. But what I'm also going to do is check that, that's it, keep those edges aligned down here. And with a ruler, I'm just going to check that it is still central, that I have got the same amount on each side. So I have got 3, and let's just have a look at this side also. And I have 3. So that is perfectly in the centre, which is exactly what I wanted. So I've got my 2 pins there. So while I'm doing that, I may as well do the other one. So there is my notch, and I'll find my notch on the brown one, which is there. and I've lined those up perfectly. And then I'm going to get myself a pin. Just make sure these straight edges are perfectly aligned. There's that straight edge as well. And then I am going to double check that I've got the 3 inches that I wanted here. So there's 3, and the 3 inches I wanted here. Perfect, just what we want. So if your circles are a little bit bigger, smaller, all you need to make sure is that your smaller circle, half circle, is centered onto your bigger half circle. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to stitch around the curved edge, and we're also going to go back across this bottom edge as well, so that everything is anchored together. So let's start over here, and I like, let's see, because we're going through a few layers, we can have a 2.5, just the general default stitch length. Excuse me. And then just make sure this all lines up as we stitch across here. I can take that pin out as well, keeping that bottom straight edge totally aligned. And then I'm going to pivot around here so that I'm going to do one more stitch. That's better. And then I'm going to stitch all around the edge. Now, along here, I'm going to do a 3.5 stitch length. I'm going to make it a longer stitch length so that it's a little bit decorative. So I'm using the inside edge of my foot, lining up with the outside edge of this half circle, so that it gives me, if I'm lucky, a nice stitch. That doesn't sound, I don't think. I think we've run out of thread. What a pain. I thought we might. Now, where is my, let's just have a look in here. I must have a bobbin that's already threaded to save me. I'm sure I put one in here. What have we got? Oh, we've got a little bit on there, a little bit on there, a little bit on there. Okay, so let's take our foot up. It's not being prepared, is it, Trisha? I'm sorry about that. So let's take our bobbin out, and we'll put, we may very well run out again because there's not very much on this one, but I'm just going to pop this in. There we go. And what's in there? Oh, broken that off. Dum-de-dum. Right. Hope there's enough to keep us going here. So in it goes, and that's it. So we've got our thread in there now. Let's just pop this one in. I don't like to, when I'm doing top stitching, I don't like to break the thread on the top. So if we can pull that back to where I was stitching, we should be fine. Okay, so that's carrying on around, all the way around to that edge. Okay, that's given us a nice top stitch all the way around. Now, the other thing I was also going to do is go around this edge here, but I'm going to do this brown piece here first of all. So let's just do this one first of all. So along this base, I may as well do a 3.5 along there. So I'm just stitching along the straight edge to hold that in place and keep those straight edges aligned. And also your stitching needs to be around about where, look at it, that's better, around about where that initial line was. So again, let's just go around this top edge, give ourselves a nice bit of top stitching. Would look lovely actually with a decorative stitch if you wanted to do that. So I'm fairly close to the edge. but the idea is to keep it consistent. Oh, I let that, that's it, I'm sure we won't notice that. There, that's puckered a little bit at the bottom, but that is going to be trapped anyway. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stitch around this top. We're going to top stitch around this edge as well. So again, with a 3.5 stitch length, we'll do the top stitching around here. You don't have to, but I do like a little bit of top stitching. So we'll carry on around here, see how long our bobbin lasts, and we'll have to wind another one if not. There we go. So that's all the way around that top edge as well. So on the inside and on the outside. So similarly with this piece. So it's not looking too bad so far, is it? Not looking difficult at all. It's all lined up with our notches, and all we're doing is working with a circle. I think this would be really cute for a small one as well. And perhaps over the next couple of weeks, I could make a small one from a much smaller circle, which would be handy for little Christmas gifts. So that's both of those done. The next thing we need to do is make our base. So the base is I've used the same as my contrast fabric. So I've used a strip that's in the instructions and fusible fleece on the back there, and then a piece of calico lining underneath, which would be wrong size. So if this was patterned, you would want the pattern side showing here. Okay. Hope your baby feels, oh no, that's all right. We're obviously all watching tonight. Okay, so let's just make sure this is all lined up. So again, belt and braces. I want to do a long stitch, just a basting stitch to hold all these pieces together. Let's just move over just a tiny bit there. But we are 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And just go around there a bit, that's it. And then around the corner, keep pivoting, just to hold that nicely together, and across the edge. So as I say, this is the belts and braces thing. Okay, all done there. Got our lining on the back, our outer fabric. The next thing we need to do, we've got to center this. So I'm also going to fold that piece at the short end, and I'm going to little nick, and then at the other short end, line that up and little nick. You could do it with pins if you want to, but you know what me and pins are like. Then you are going to take one of your pieces, whoops, let's pop them there. And we want this piece to go in between our 2 half circles. So we are going to line up our notch there, and we are going to pin that temporarily in place. Let's just pin that there and pin that there. Now, if you want to check that that is central, you can, but actually the notches here worked for this, so it's going to work for this as well. Then this one, this side needs to meet this one as well. So as you can see, we've got the 2 half circles opposite. So this one needs to go right sides together as well, like so. So all I'm going to do is line this up. So again, we're going to match that notch, and we can put a pin just there and just there. But the pins aren't going to stay in there long because we are going to stitch it, and stitching it will mean that, there we go. So you can see that there. Here's my half circle, there's a half, and we've got our bit in between. So we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and again, within the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance there, or it's where I've done my basting, just making sure that lines up so we can stitch across here as well. So I'm going to go the whole way across, just to, and reverse there, just to anchor that piece there, and then we'll flip it over and we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So pin out and then straight across. Okay. So there we have our piece. Right, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to, if we take one, so I'm trimming off all these threads here. So let's just take this back just a little bit, as it's such a big piece. So all I'm going to do is say I'm going to work with this edge, and I'm going to put that edge down there. So I'm working with that edge here going onto the long side of the base, and I am going to flatten that down so that is going to fit along there. Shall I show you that once again? So there is my semicircle opposite the base. So I'm going to put this edge, this long edge here, down to this one here. Okay, so if I pop that like that, so if you go into where that comes together, and what you'll find is that sits just along there and will fit into that little piece here. So you can either use binding clips, or I find the pin can just hold that even better, and then we could put a binding clip just here. Just see, pop your finger into there, line that up, and let's get a binding clip here. So let's put a binding clip there. I have got a bag of my, oh here we are. There are my binding clips. Let's open that up, and let's put a couple along here, because we have got more than one layer to set in place. Okay, so I popped that one there, and then I'm going to do, doesn't really matter which way, but I'm going to put this other side on the other side here. Okay, so again, just turn it up that way, put my finger in where the base of the base is, into that corner, and then move that along to there, and let's get another clip just there, and just another clip along here, and another little clip along here. So just making sure those are nicely aligned. Okay, now, so there we have that piece made. So now we want to bring this piece around here. Okay, so I've got this edge here, wants to come along this piece. So let's just wrap that around. And this time we are going to take off the clips and pop them back with all those layers together. So I'm popping that one there, I'm popping that one just there, and this one just there. So I've got all those layers, and then my last one is this edge here is going to come onto this edge, which has already got clips on. So that is going to wrap around here. So again, let's just pop that down there. Just check that that fits nicely there, which it does. Take the clip off, binding clip, pop it back on so that all layers are together, and similarly there. So there we have our base. Now, this little bit here is a raw edge, but if you want to zigzag over there, or you could put a binding strip over there at some point, but I've just left that for the time being. So our next step though is to stitch along there. So we can pop that down at the machine, just flatten that other bit down, and we are going to go with a 2.5 inch stitch length because we have got a few layers to go through. And when we start at this corner here, I'm going to reverse, and I am doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so let's keep, and this time, so all those stitch lines that we used to keep our layers together are all being enclosed. Now you have to go slowly because you have got a fair few layers that you're going through, and when you're going over the centre. So just go along to the other side, all the way across and reverse. Okay, so we have, oh, we've run out of thread. Didn't you just know it? So having got that all together, right, let's just see, we need this, don't we? So bear with, oops, up there, 1, 2, 3, doesn't take long to thread, okay, because we do need to do a little bit more stitching. That one off there, so, oops, that hasn't dropped in place, there we go. So just hold on to that. So while we thread the machine at the top. There we go. Just to give me enough to get to the end. Right, we'll stop there. Stop there. Right, so pop that in. Sounds like rain. Gosh, we really don't need any more rain. Let's hold that. I do like to pull my thread up. I don't know if you do. Okay, so we're ready to go. So let's just go back over where I went, and oops, there it is. So where did we start there? Okay, so let's just make sure they're still all aligned. I should have heard the difference in the sewing, because you can hear when you're, whoops, when you're not stitching with any thread. Okay, that's it. I can see we've got that there. Just trim that bit of thread off, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on this other side here. Whoops. I'm going to do exactly the same, just flatten that down, start over the edge of your seam there, because you want to catch all of that in, and then take your binding clips off before you get to them, and just checking on all the layers being held together. There we go. Over to the edge. Doesn't like clipping today. Okay, so I've got that base sealed. Now the only thing I need to do, I am going to bind these edges. So I have got a piece of the lining fabric. Okay, and I am going to pop that. So I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before. I'm going to leave about 1 inch or so over the edge at both ends. So let's just pop this under, like so. I'll just reverse there. So, and I'm going to trim this after I've stitched the whole way along. There we are, stitching across there. And I am actually going to hand stitch. There we go. Oh no, it's too bulky for me to cut the thread. Okay, so let's just trim that off. Trim that off. So on that side, as you can see, I've got a little bit of excess fabric. So I have got another piece here. I'm going to do the same with this. So you're just going If you feel that you can stitch that seam and at the same time pop your binding strip on, by all means give it a go. But I think it's better to do one seam, and then it will make the base stronger anyway, because you have, there we go. Right, so again, clip that off, clip that off. So what we're going to do with these pieces here is we are going to fold that up. Oh, you can't see that there. So I'm going to fold that up just like when we do a binding of anything else. I'm just going to wrap that piece around the edge, and the same at the other end, but then I'm going to fold this in so it meets the edge of our base piece there, and then I'm going to fold that up so that we have a nice neat, there we are, nice neat. And I'm going to do that the whole way along. So just fold that and fold it up over. And as I say, if you want to do it by machine, by all means do, but with mine, I just felt it was a little bit bulky. So I actually just slip stitch. It's not very a long distance at all. So here I'm just going to fold that up and around that end, and then fold it in half and fold it up over the end just there. Pop that clip on and then fold that under, and oops, I don't know if you can see that, just oops, don't want that catching there. There, that's it. Let me just see again. There we go. So I'm just folding that up and popping our binding clips on there. So that's all nice and neat, just ready to be hand slipped in place. And then I'll do the same on this side. So fold it up, fold that little end bit back, and then wrap it around the edge. And I'm going to fold that one in just up to the edge of our seam, and then wrap that up like so. And we'll do the same at this other end here. Just wrap it around, fold it in half, so the raw edges are all enclosed inside. Let's just set some more, and don't want that bit. And then fold it in half, pop it over there, and oh, we're getting comments on there now. And I can't see. Oh, Jack's late, never mind. Oh dear, oh dear. You've been trying to make notes on your printed copy for the stitch lengths. Well, a guide to the stitch lengths is that when you are going through a bulky layer, I would do it a slightly longer stitch length. Okay, so there we have, ready to be hand stitched in place. And then what we're going to do, we're going to turn it to the right side. Now I bet all my clips will come off. So let me see if I can pop a pin. Let's see if we can put a pin in this end one here. Because I just left mine raw edges right till the end. So I'm just going to put a pin in there, because I do want to be able to just turn it through. Oops, that's the right side, there we go. So if I can, because obviously we need to pop handles on here, and let's see if I can put a pin in there. And also you perhaps notice or be thinking that, well actually, those pieces aren't, let's just put that, those pieces aren't stitched down yet either. So let's just say, ow, see what I do, prick myself every time. One more little pin. Let's take that one off there and pop that pin in here. There we go. Nope. Pop out again. That's in there. Okay, so we have that here. So now I'm going to turn it to the right side. without pricking myself, I hope. Let's just pull that through as well. And you'll then want to push out those base corners. Let's see if I can do that. And there we go, without. So let's see, our base is here. Now you will of course use a coordinating thread. I was very silly. I've got a beigey colour, which is fine, but I've got white in my bobbin. So you can see that that is coming out pretty nicely. That is fine. I can see a little bit of white there, but right. So these bits at the minute are still loose. So what we're going to do is just hold those out. I should really have stitched this. I'm going to take these inner bits off because you know what needs to be done in there. It needs to be neatened off, and these binding clips are in the way to help me. Right, so that's okay. So you're just pushing those seams out on the sides, and you'll see that that just fits really nicely. It just lays exactly on top of each other. So I'm going to put a binding clip just there, and similarly on this side, just make sure from the base that just sits up nicely like so. And then all we are going to do, we are going to hold this together, but we're going to stitch from here to here. And to do that, all we need to do is, oh, I think I did take off my my table here because I wanted to be able to see if you've got, if you haven't got an extension table like that, it's great, and a free arm, even better. But as I say, all you need to do is pop this under the machine like so, and I'm going to stitch on the stitch that I started off with. So I'm just going to anchor that backwards and forwards, and then I'm just going to pull that from underneath and just stitch down here. So I'm going directly onto the stitch, the top stitching, but only till I get to there. So just between there and there holds that together well enough. And then similarly here, just make sure that's nice and flat, and we're going to do exactly the same and stitch from this edge down to there. So I may even just pop a pin just to hold that securely, because obviously I will be taking that binding clip off and then going to the machine. And I say, when you've got a free arm, it is so much easier, but I am just going to, whoops, there we are. So onto my top stitch line, just reverse over the last couple of stitches and stitch down onto them just to that little, I'm just getting the bag out of the way. And take that pin out as I've come to it. Whoops, there it is. Oh, pull the pin out. And as I say, I'm not stitching through my bag. And when we get there, just reverse it at the end there as well. So that is holding that all together. So that is all totally in place. And then the only other thing we need to do, I'm going to put a clip just here. Now I've put a cam snap just here to hold it, but we need to do our handles. So for those of you that have never done a bag handle before, all I've done, I started off with my 4-inch strip of fabric. I folded it in half and pressed it. I opened it out, pressed the raw edge to the center, the other raw edge in and press, fold it over and press again. Now, if you like a little bit stronger handle, this is of course a whole width of fabric. This is just a test piece. What we do is just open it up, and for these bag handles, I then just put either some fusible, which this is, slot it inside and then refold. Okay, so that's all for, and I would press it again. I'm not going to press it on this occasion, but just clip that off. So then I'm going to top stitch down the edge, and I always stitch down the edge that is open to begin with. So we will do a longer stitch length as well. 3.5 is what I usually like to use. And all we're going to do is stitch down here. I mean, usually I skip over this very quickly, but I don't know if some of you may never have made a bag before. So having gone down one side, I stitch across the other side. Then because that's going to be clipped off anyway. And then I'm just going to stitch down the other side to give us our bag handle. So there is my bag handle with stitching at each side. So I have already done, I have got one done here. Where are we? Oh, I have got one here that I've already made. And this is the whole width of the fabric. So I'm just going to clip off these selvages because we don't want those. So clip off that selvage, or the other ones. Yeah, we'll just clip that little bit off. And then just line those ends up and go to the other end where it's folded, clip it in half, and those are your two bag handles. Now, what I'm going to do here is we are going to put our handles at equal. It's about 2 inches in from each side. You can put them wherever you would like, but I'm putting it like this because what I'm doing is folding that up, that raw edge. I'm folding it back, and then all I'm doing is popping it onto the front of the bag. Okay, so that to me is an ideal place for my bag handle to be. So I'm just going to put a pin in there to hold it. There it is. So you can measure from here to here, which is, let's just have a look, that is 2.5 inches. So from this point where it dips down, it's 2.5 inches across there, and it's 1.5 inches down. So let's have a look here, because I know some of you do like a measurement. So 2.5 in there and 1.5 down. So actually that is about on place. So just make sure your handle is not twisted, and then we're going to tuck that bit under. We'll just turn that back, and that is going to go on this side here. So just pop that down and put our pin just to hold that. Oops, I'm going to prick myself because that's it. So there is our handle on one side. Let me just see that what you can also do is fold it in half, fold the bag in half, and make sure they line up. I can see that one's a bit lower. Let's see, let's just move that down. That other one's a little bit lower there. There we go. That's better. My measuring wasn't that good, was it? Okay, so that's better. So I've got my two handles. Then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So let's just fold that piece up. I'm only folding back about less than 1/2 inch, between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, and I can feel that is just there. So I'm just holding the other side and feeling that they are in exactly the same place. There we go. And then let's just, oh, wrong one. Wrong handle. I want this one here. There we go. That's better. So just tuck that little bit back. And as I say, I'm feeling where my handle is at the back, and it is just there. So I can tell, lift that up from the other side, and that is equal. The place is the same on the front as the back. So let's just pop a pin across there, and then similarly lift the handle up, make sure it's not twisted, fold that little bit back, and I'm going to feel where my handle is attached at the back there, and that is just there. So again, and what you can do is you can measure as well if you want to just check that they are evenly spaced, and just measure from in each side. I can see that those handles now, they're not twisted and they're in the right place. So let's just take this off and I'll show you how we'll get one of these on here. So as I said, again, with the free arm, it is much easier for you because your bag can go straight over your free arm. This isn't too bad, but let's start on this one first, and we'll do two. We can do one side and then the other. So just bring your bag underneath and just make that go flat. And all I did, there we go, I lined up the base of the, that's hard for you to see there, isn't it? That's it. I lined up the base of my handle with the edge of the foot, and I'm going to go back to a 2.5. So I'm going to stitch across. So I'm stitching across there, and I'm stopping where my stitching, my top stitching is. Well, let's see. And so now I'm going to pivot this around, and I am going to take the pin out because I don't want to go over it. And I just do either 2 or 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And then I actually like to reverse. So from here, I'm going to reverse parallel to where I was stitching. So I've got my reverse on. I'm making sure that that goes nice and parallel. I should have had a longer stitch, I think, there. Okay. And then I can pivot that round to come forwards again. Take that. And then I'm going to come down. There we are. And if you want to anchor for even more security, just go back across. I'm going to turn that stitch length up. Go back across that very first stitch that you did. So that's what I've done. So I went, how are we doing? Oh, not too bad at all. Okay. So with that, so I've got my nice, I've got my nice rectangle. It's my nice rectangle. Now what I do is I just pull that back, because obviously there's a bit of raw edge just there. And then I'm just going to trim that little bit away. Okay. And then that's still really neat. You won't see that, but your handle is anchored on there. You see, you can't see anything just there. So I'll just do this one as well. So again, similar to what we did before. Oh, it's great when it starts to rain, isn't it? Because we haven't had rain for absolutely ages. So tuck that under. Oh, there we go. Right. So I'm going along the bottom. Don't know how easy it is for you to see this. So along the bottom. And as I say, I do stop where my top stitching of my bag handle is. And I try and stitch. So pivot round. Make sure your handle is coming directly up there. 1, 2, 3. And then pivot back again. And as I say, I just do a parallel. I reverse. If you want to turn it right round again. Oops, where are we going? That wasn't, that was pushing it out of the way there. Let's just see. That's it. And then bring that round again. And just come back down. 1, 2, 3. And if you count the number of stitches you do, you'll get your stitching on the same row of stitching. One more and clip. Okay. There we go. So that is one side of our handle done. And I'm going to leave it at that point because I am getting pretty chilly in here. And as with the rain going as well, all I'm doing is just clipping off the loose ends or the loose threads inside the bag. But basically, I have got, whoops, I have got two exactly the same. Rain is much better than snow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there we, well no, that's got pins in there. So there is one. And there is two twin bags. Okay, so not difficult, would you say? Not difficult. Let's say the only thing I haven't done is I've just put a cam snap in the top there, so that got some spray in there. So that just holds it together. Now, if you are going to, when you make yours, if you are going to put a cam snap in here, make sure it comes down. Don't do it right at the top because there's so much bulk there and your cam snap may not, it might come out. Ask me why I know, because that's what happened to me. So just make sure I've left a good ½ an inch from where that dips down to before putting my cam snap, so that it's just going into one layer or two maximum layers of fabric. But that just holds it together and it gives it that shape as well. So you will be making this, yes. Okay. I can't remember whether this fabric, I haven't done any kits this time, but I'm sure this fabric is on the website. I'm sure there's this along with the turquoise variation as well. I wonder what they would look like if you were to use one fabric on the outside of the larger circle and also on the inside of the smaller circle. It would become very bulky, that's the only thing. So you'd be putting more circles on top of each other. But give it a go, Leslie, and tell us how you work out. If you use the one fabric on the outside of the larger circle and also on the inside of the smaller circles. Well, these smaller circles, if that's what you mean on the other side, it doesn't show. There's none of the fabric showing. So the underneath, you can't see the fabric. If you were going to have another circle going over here, yes, it would look lovely, but you are having more and more layers of fabric that you're having to stitch through. So I would think a little bit about that. Unless for these other ones, instead of using fusible fleece, well, no, you would, because that's given the, I was going to say you could use interfacing instead to make it thinner, but this forms part of the bag, because even though it's fusible fleece, which isn't the thickest wadding, that's got a real nice bit of structure. It really has. And it's probably because you've got the two layers, one on top of the other, because obviously this fabric here is underneath this as well. So, but give it a go if you think it will work. Okay. So, looks like a designer bag. It does actually, doesn't it? I mean, it's only because it's the circle overlapping one over the other. Thank you, Beverly. And thank you, Jack. Elaine's on your to-do list. Oh, goodness, wouldn't it lend itself to Cape Facet? Oh, one of his purpley and cerise and lime green with purple weather brown. Oh, my goodness, it would. And I've got no Cape Facet in stock at all. Tiny ones as well. You've made me want to make a tiny one, but I haven't really got time. So, tomorrow I'm going to be cutting and packing all the orders from Sunday. I do apologise that it has taken me so long, but I've just had so much to do, and but that's on the agenda for tomorrow. So some will go out tomorrow, and the rest will go out on Friday. but it's all the cutting, and there's 2 or 3 people, which I think I've emailed now, who I haven't got back to yet, purely because it's not until I cut the fabrics to know that if I've got any extra left to be able to fulfill their order. So I will know tomorrow, and I will get straight back to you. So, on Jack's, oh, don't worry. Yes, you can call tomorrow, Patricia, no problem at all. Wonder how big you could go. I know. Well, as I say, this was the biggest circle here is 19-inch diameter. So however big you want to go. Thank you, Shirley. You meant there's the lining. Yeah, do whatever lining you like. Absolutely. Don't bother with the lining on the back of this one though, because it's not seen. It's purely the lining on the back of the big circle. Okay. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Sandra. You'll have to watch back, Raina. That's fine. No problem. Could you use cork for the darker colour and not fuse it? Yeah. Absolutely could. Yeah, and absolutely would. You could use faux leather and not fuse it to anything, because that's not going to fray either. Brilliant idea. Who was that? Was it Jane? Yes, brilliant idea, Jane. And loved your wreath. Loved it, loved it. Thank you, Carolyn and Gita and Lynn and Margaret, and thank you, Vanessa. Right, I'm going to go and have my dinner now. I told Martin that I would be ready for 7:45, and bingo, 3 minutes. Anyhow, thank you for your company tonight. As I said, I hope you've enjoyed, and look forward to seeing some of your little mates, bigger or smaller, whatever you would like to do. Oh, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Karen. Right, so take care of yourselves. Wednesday. Tomorrow, there is a rerun again, and I will do it on time. I'm sorry about last night's. I have put it in this group for you to watch if you wanted to. But I'll do another one tomorrow night, and it will be at 6:30. And then on Friday, pardon me, on Friday I will be doing a hand hot pad. And I need to make that, but it's all in my head and it's going to work, and I'll show you how to do that. So take care of yourselves. Thank you for tonight, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye for now.